Are you ready to unlock growth, build resilience, and confidently take the next step in leadership, career, and faith? Welcome to The Next Move. I'm Orvin Kimbrough, a CEO, author, and leader with a passion for helping people and organizations thrive. My journey from foster care to CEO has fueled my mission to help professionals scale their confidence, leadership, and influence through mindset shifts, expanded networks, and bold action. Each week, I'll share reflections ripped straight from my blog to inspire and empower you with actionable insights. Let's get started and make your next move your best move. Welcome back to The Next Move, the podcast where we explore faith, leadership, and personal growth to help you take your next step with purpose and confidence. Have you ever felt that shift? That moment when people who once clapped for you starting getting quiet? I know I have, and I'm telling you, it's one of the most revealing experiences you'll ever have. I remember when I graduated college telling my colleagues that I was going to be a consultant. That was a stretch because honestly, I didn't have the experience, and they let me know it. They told me it wasn't realistic, that I needed to start smaller, stay in my lane. Guess what? I became a consultant. And that wasn't the last time I heard people tell me what I couldn't do. I've had discussions throughout my career about my ambitions, not just to lead, but to own, not just to get by, but to materially change perspectives, materially change mindsets and the lives of people and teams I'm fortunate to engage with. And time again, I've had people look me in the eye and say, that's too big. That's too much. You need to scale that back. You're aiming too high. Did you catch that? They didn't say you're not capable, not you don't have the skills. They weren't talking about me. They were talking about themselves. Because when you start pushing past what's acceptable, when you start rising beyond what's comfortable for others, people will pull back. And not because you've changed, but because your ambition forces them to confront their own limitations. Most people are fine with you getting better as long as it doesn't challenge their idea of what's possible. They'll encourage you to go from struggling to stable, but thriving, well, that's where things get complicated. I've seen in my own life, when I was in foster care, the goal wasn't to thrive. It was just to survive, to make it to adulthood in one piece. And for a long time, I believed that was enough. But once I started pushing beyond that, once I decided that stability was not my final destination, I realized something. The same people who help you survive aren't always the ones who will help you thrive. Did you catch that? Some people are only equipped to help you in your struggle. They don't know how to help you win. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever noticed how some people start pulling back the moment you dream bigger? Let me tell you a story. After graduating college, I petitioned the state of Missouri for my foster care case notes, the records they kept on me while I was in the system, and what I found, it shook me. Buried in those notes were assessments about who I was and, more importantly, who they believed I would become. They described me as below average intellectually and, quote, anxious, insecure youth who overvalues achievement and intelligence, end quote. And the kicker, they said my expectation for education and success was unrealistic. Did you hear me? Unrealistic. For who? Imagine reading in black and white that the simple fact that you had ambition meant you were out of touch with reality. This is what happens when you push beyond survival. The world has a way of trying to define what's reasonable for you. It tells you this is how far you can go. Don't ask for more. And the question is, will you accept that? Or will you prove them wrong? There are 3 types of people in your life. As you rise, you'll notice these 3 types of people. They are enablers. They help you survive the struggle. They're the ones who show up when things are hard, but they aren't necessarily pushing you to grow. They are helpmates. These are the people who walk with you. They encourage you, support you, but they won't necessarily challenge you. They are growth partners. These are the rare ones. The people who push you, who challenge you, and call out more in you, even when it's uncomfortable. And here's the reality. When you start pushing past good enough into wild success, some of the people who once supported you will pull back, not because you've changed, but because your ambition forces them to confront their own limitations. Then there's the Joseph effect, when success becomes a problem. And this isn't new, it's biblical. Look at Joseph in Genesis 37. His brothers had no problem with him when he was just another son in the family. But the moment Joseph started speaking about his dreams, about a bigger vision, they turned against him. They were fine when he was ordinary. They were okay when he showed potential. But the moment he stepped into wild success, guess what? They resented him. Did you catch that? People will support your potential as long as it doesn't become reality. And there's a process of becoming wildly successful. In James 1, verse 12, it says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised." Success, especially wild success, isn't given. Folks, it's a process, a painful process, a necessary process, a process that will test your endurance, a process that will test your patience, a process that will test your faith. Let me tell you what I've seen in my own life. Early on, I received handouts, people who gave just enough to keep me afloat. Then I started getting hand-ups, mentors who pulled me higher, but only so far. But when I realized I wanted more than just success, when I decided I wanted impact, I had to make 3 key shifts. I had to think differently, not just about money, not just about opportunity, but about what was actually possible for me. I had to connect with people who believed differently. I had to be around people who weren't intimidated by my ambition. And finally, and most importantly, I had to root my source in God. Because when your source is God, your success isn't dependent on people. Did you catch that? If your success is tied to human approval, you will always be limited by their comfort zones. And let me tell you, people's comfort zones are small. So if you want wild success, you have to push beyond what is acceptable. That means some people won't understand you. That means some people will tell you to slow down. That means some people will say your vision is too big. But here's the truth. The fact that they can't see it doesn't mean you can't build it. The process of becoming wildly successful isn't just about external wins. It's about internal shifts, the kind that forces you to grow beyond what you thought was possible. Now, Maybe you're feeling this right now. Maybe you've hit a level of success that's acceptable, and you're starting to wonder, should I go further? Should I aim higher? And maybe, just maybe, you're sensing the resistance, the subtle shift in how people treat you, the unspoken discomfort when you start talking about bigger things, larger perspectives, the moment of doubt creeping in, making you wonder if you're asking for too much. If that's you, sister, if that's you, brother, keep going, because God didn't give you a small vision. He gave you a wild one. If you're going to be wildly successful, you have to come to terms with three things. First, not everyone is meant to come with you. Some people are only in your life for a season. Next, you have to push beyond what's acceptable. Stability is a fine place to pass through, but don't let it be your final destination. And finally, your foundation has to be bigger than human approval. If your growth is tied to what others think, you'll always be limited. People will cheer you on when you're struggling. They'll rally around you when you're stabilizing. But while success, well, that requires something deeper. That requires faith. It requires resilience and the willingness to walk alone if necessary. So let me ask you, will you rise to it? And if this message doesn't speak to you today, maybe there's someone in your life who needs this encouragement. Forward it to them. Thanks for tuning in to The Next Move. Keep pushing, keep growing, and take your next move with purpose. Thank you for tuning in to The Next Move. I hope today's reflection inspired you to take the next step in your leadership, career, or faith journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a little encouragement this week. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like more reflections or resources, visit orvinkimbrough.com or theaccidentalbanker.com. Until next time, remember, every step you take brings you closer to thriving. Let's keep moving forward together.